Good evening and welcome back to another Fantasy Football Fix daily price change predictions video. My name is FPL Nacho and this is a series where we discuss potential FPL price changes to help you build that essential team value. Now, game week 12 continued the trend of defenders scoring big with the likes of Trent, CANCELO and of course those Chelsea defenders bringing in those big returns. And we're going to see potentially if they're going to continue going in game week 13 with a few of those potentially rising in price tonight. So all that to look forward to in this video. And as always, guys, everything is taken from fantasyfootballfix.com, the leading FPL platform. So if you want to win those mini leagues or improve those ranks, be sure to head over to fantasyfootballfix.com or download the free app, links in the bio. And guys, if you want to support the channel, make sure you like, hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss a thing. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay guys, so we're going to kick this video off with the usual Fantasy Football Fix price change predictor that you can see on screens here. And I've decided to filter it by watch list just so I can select the main talking points of potential price changes tonight. So first up, no surprises once again, Reece James currently predicted to rise in price, rising by 8.3% per hour, which is absolutely ridiculous looking at it from the face of it. Currently at 6 million, predicted to rise to 6.1 million tonight. And as you can see, that progress bar over 135%. We have him down to rise in price and no surprise off the back of those 3 bonus points and assists in game week 12. Now another player that's predicted to rise in price tonight is Wolves' Jimenez. Currently at 7.7 million, predicted to rise 7.8 million tonight. And with 5.1% progress per hour, it looks like that one is going to happen. And with the goal in game week 12, looking back to his usual self in terms of consistency, looks like a nice player to own going forward over the coming favourable fixtures in the next 2 game weeks. And a few other notable potential price rises is going to be Smith Rowe at Arsenal. Not his best in game week 12, but at 5.8 million, potentially rising to 5.9 million tonight, still offering brilliant value at that price. And Kane, of course, filming right now in the middle of the Spurs game, so not sure how that outcome is going to happen and whether that will affect Kane's potential price rise. So worth heading over to the Fantasy Football Fix website to monitor this one. But he is predicted to rise in price tonight to 12.3 million with those Spurs fixtures coming up. Cancelo, no surprise, off the back of another haul in game week 12. And some surprising potential price fallers. Diaz predicted to fall in price tonight. With his benching in game week 12, I think a few managers are probably thinking that this could be a consistent theme going on during the winter break. I'm not too sure whether that is going to happen with Diaz, usually one of Pep's go-to guys in the defence. So be interesting to see how that happens. But managers are clearly losing favour with him and he could potentially fall to 6 million tonight. And Jamie Vardy, the other notable one, had another blank against Chelsea and Leicester in general looking a bit poor and clearly out of ideas against this Chelsea team. With Tielemans injured, that could hinder Jamie Vardy's creativity. Likely to fall to 10.6 million tonight. So if you are currently on Jamie Vardy and you're potentially looking to bring in Harry Kane tonight, then you might want to pull that trigger early doors if you don't mind waiting those 6 days till the deadline. So it's worth noting that one. But we're going to deep dive in some of these players now. Bit of analysis to continue this video, guys. Right guys, first up we're going to kick off this video looking at the player heat map section over on fantasyfootballfix.com. I want to compare Raul Jimenez, who's potentially rising in price tonight, to Mikel Antonio, who has basically been the FPL benchmark so far this season for FPL forwards. And of course, Jimenez getting the upper hand in game week 12, his goal being the one that beat West Ham, of course. And I really want to look at this over the last 5 game weeks because Antonio, on the face of it, has been in unbelievable form this season. But I know a lot of managers and a lot of owners right now are looking at Antonio and his recent returns and thinking that there might be replacements available that could offer better value and a little bit cheaper. I think Raul Jimenez is a very interesting discussion to have. So I've compared this over the last 5 game weeks. And we can see there that Jimenez is topping that chart in terms of points with 25 in comparison to Antonio's 14. And that works out at 5 points per game for Jimenez and to Antonio's 2.8. Now, when we come down here into the player heat map section, it's quite interesting to see that we expect from Jimenez to get plenty of touches within and around the box, as we expect him being the focal point in that Wolves attack. But Antonio's touch map, really interestingly, lacking within the box and predominantly down in that left-hand flank corner. Now, Whether this is a case of a new way of West Ham playing, of stretching their defences, I don't really have the answers to that, unfortunately. But I think it's really interesting to see his touch map over the last 5 game weeks, that he isn't necessarily getting the touches in the box that we would probably expect to see of him, especially over at the start of the season where he predominantly was in and around that box. Jimenez probably winning that kind of analysis over the last 5 game weeks. And when we come down here into the general underlying stats, as they've played quite similar minutes, we can see here that Jimenez 2 goals for Antonio's 1. So you wouldn't necessarily say over the last 5 game weeks that one player in particular has really shone. I know Jimenez is winning in regards to the overall FPL points, but I don't think necessarily 2 goals in the last 5 is really groundbreaking for a forward. And we can still see that Antonio is winning that battle in expected goals. 1.4 to Jimenez's 1.32. And shots is in Antonio's favour with 11 to 9. But shots on target were 4 to Jimenez. And shots in the box, 8 for Antonio to 7 for Jimenez. That's quite interesting to read there because, of course, the touch map was probably more in Jimenez's favour. But it's clear that when Antonio is in the box, he is getting his shots away, and 8 to 7 there, showing that he is still getting in the positions that we want to see Antonio in. And expected assists, again, quite interestingly, I think both players are instrumental in their teams, both from an attacking perspective and a creative perspective. So it's interesting to see that Antonio at 0.85, completely ahead of Jimenez at 0.04. So I think that's quite an interesting one there, because I would probably associate Raul Jimenez as being the focal point and linking with players. So for him to only have an expected assist of 0.04 is quite surprising there. And again, Antonio with 8 attempted assists to Raul Jimenez's 1 attempted assist. Now I've looked over the next 5 league matches for these two players, and their projected points come out as Jimenez 19.2 and Antonio at 22.8. So right now when we're looking at this, Antonio really has the underlying stats probably still to go for him over Jimenez, and he has the projected points over Jimenez. So the way I read this right now is, although Antonio is blanking recently and not necessarily looking like the asset he once was at the start of the season, I still think holding on to Antonio is probably the wise move. Jimenez is definitely on a recent good bit of form, but there's no reason to suggest that Antonio is necessarily really trailing behind him. And when I look at the underlying stats, I still think Antonio is still a decent hold over the coming game weeks. So if you're currently sat there on Antonio and you're tempted by Jimenez, while I think it is a solid move over the next 2 league matches, I think over the next 5, I think Antonio is still going to come out on top based on the underlying stats and projected points. Okay guys, last up we're going to be looking at FPL Defenders. Now, this has been the running theme for these videos, but we cannot get away from them because they're consistently delivering week in, week out. And I know you guys want to know which defenders to target and whether we should really be going for the 5 at the back and really investing all our money in those departments. With the FPL forwards right now, the likes of Kane, Ronaldo, Vardy, even the likes of Antonio recently, really not delivering on that value. It really is the defenders where it's at right now, and especially those wing backs and full backs that we need to target. And I've decided to bring up the OptaStats sandbox over on fantasyfootballfix.com to really get a deep dive into these assets and what is available to us in the game. And it gives us an idea also on what to target. So I've decided to highlight these in blue, in particular Trent, Cancelo, James and Chilwell. I think they are really the ones that all managers are looking to, just because of the way that they play within their teams. And as you can see there, Trent Alexander-Arnold is currently joint top scorer with Cancelo with 79 points. And what I really do like to see here is the expected FPL points, which is just to the left of the points. We can see that Cancelo has an expected FPL points of 79.43. So he's the only player to basically match and better his actual output of points. So that suggests to me that he really is delivering in both the underlying stats and the actual output, and shows that that's actually consistent and shows that he could consistently return what he has done recently. Alexander-Arnold, on the other hand, 72.95. Now, this isn't a huge discrepancy, and I would naturally expect most players to be below their actual output. So for Cancelo to be slightly exceeding it or matching it is only a credit to him. But Trent slightly behind on that department. And then Reece James with 75 points. Obviously, you can see there, minutes-wise, he's only played 548. So basically, pretty much half the minutes of Cancelo, and he's only scored 4 points less. I think that's a testament to how unbelievable Reece James has been recently. So I think that's worth noting there, that the minutes, we need to look at that column there, because James and Chilwell have basically played half the minutes of Cancelo and 300 minutes less than Trent Alexander-Arnold. Chilwell there, we can see 54 points. Started off really well when he came back into the Chelsea team, but as we can see, James has completely leapfrogged him in that department. And Chilwell, 38.3 expected FPL points, and his actual output was 54. So a bit of a gap there, and we can see that James's expected FPL points are 54.11. So basically, James is really outscoring Chilwell in both departments there. And when we come across to the expected goals, we can see that Trent has scored one and expected goals of 1.03. Cancelo, still no goals, but an expected goals of 1.53. So owners can really count themselves unlucky that they haven't got any attacking returns in the goals department. And I really think, again, that that's something to look forward to with Cancelo, that it's clear he is getting those opportunities to score. And I think it's only a matter of time if he does continue on this trend. Now, James is winning that department for goals with 4. But his expected goals is still below Cancelo's at 1.27. I think you remember those goals against Newcastle. Both unbelievable strikes, but those you wouldn't really expect him to score week in, week out. And that's probably why his expected goals is a little bit less than Cancelo's. And Chilwell at 13, but even worse expected goals at 1.13. So again, although Cancelo hasn't scored a goal yet, he is topping the charts in those expected goals, which is really interesting to see. And then when we look at the expected goals and the expected assists and actual assists, we can see that Trent Alexander-Arnold, no surprises, is top of the charts here with 6 and absolutely dominating this department in the expected assists, 4.59. Unbelievable there, and rightly so with Trent, picking up some amazing spots in that Liverpool team, and it's what we come to expect with him as an asset. Now, Cancelo with 5 assists, 1.88 expected assists. So again, that one a bit of a discrepancy there, a little bit different to his expected goals and actual output. Probably doesn't necessarily deserve the 5 assists that he has had this season. Trent is definitely the man to own if you want to go in that department. And again, Reece James, 4 FPL assists, an expected assist of 1.96. And Chilwell with only 1 assist and an expected assist of 0.61. So how do I read this right now? Well, all of these assets are unbelievable assets going forward. But looking at the data available when we compare the 2 Chelsea defenders, I really think Reece James is still the man to target. He is a bonus points magnet, it's first and foremost worth mentioning. I know it doesn't say that on here, but again, with the underlying stats, his expected FPL points are dominating Chilwell's, and they've played pretty much the exact same minutes. The only argument we would say is Reece James, over the coming game weeks in the winter period, could get rotated to Azpilicueta, but in the form that he's in, it would be a brave move for Tuchel to drop him. But when we actually look at the go-to defender right now, I still think Man City's Cancelo is still the man to own. Main reason being is because of that 1.3 million saving you are getting on Trent Alexander-Arnold. If they were both the same price, probably would favour Trent, but at that price point and being in one of the best defences in the league, that's why I think Cancelo is still the go-to defender in the league. And quickly, looking at the projected points over the next 5, Trent is topping that with 34.5 points. Chilwell second on 30.7. Cancelo on 30.4 points. And Reece James on 28.4. So, as I mentioned, I still prefer Reece James as an asset going forward, but the projected points has him as the 4th worst of the 4. Trent being considerably the highest projected points over the next 5. So, you can see there, guys, the underlying stats and the projected points. Of course, make your own decisions going forward, but I still think at that price point, Cancelo is an unbelievable asset over the coming game weeks. Right, guys, that's going to wrap up today's Fantasy Football Fix price change predictions video. Really hope that has provided a little bit of value going into game week 13. And of course, those defenders, that deep dive hopefully has opened your eyes a little bit into what direction to go to if you don't own one already. And as always, guys, all the information is taken from fantasyfootballfix.com, the leading FPL platform. So if you want to win those mini leagues, be sure to follow the links in the description to head over to our website or download our free app. I really hope that it's provided some value, guys. And if it did, be sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button. And with this busy, hectic winter period, there's going to be plenty of content coming. So you don't want to miss a thing. So hit that notification bell so you get alerted every time a video is dropping. So guys, we will see you same time tomorrow. Take care. Cheers.